Hey guys, tonight I'm going to give you an update on the opioid crisis and what's going on with me, because there's been a lot of things going on that I would like to share with you guys. We'll be right back. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust, turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. I keep thinking it's Thursday for some reason, but it's Wednesday. Give me a second to push my buttons here. Here we go. Button. Who's got the button? There we go. There's the proper button. Anyway, my name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong, up and down the state, which means if you think you have something paranormal going on in your house or business, we can help you. However, it may take us a couple days to get to you. California is a big state. You know, when a lot of people think of California, they think about the whole surfer girl things, like with the Beach Boys, and it's a lot like Hawaii, which it is. And incidentally, one of the beaches in Hawaii was filled in with California sand. So there's something to look up, okay? But anyway, you know, they think it's like that, like the Beach Boys songs, it's surfers, which it is. But we also have an area, you know, going inward, which would be east, where you've got deserts, you've got big, like Sacramento's a big city, you've got, you know, different things like that. It's not all beach, okay? It's not all surfer girls. It'd be nice if it was all beach. So it's a huge state. So like I said, it might take us a couple days to get to you, and in that case, we do have mediums on staff who can phone you and talk to you about what may or may not be going on. And if it is paranormal, in most cases, they can calm the energy down until we can get out there, which usually doesn't take more than 3 days. Okay, that being said, if you are watching from Facebook, and a lot of you are, thank you for the like. Who did that? Who did the like? Who liked me? Linda, how are you? My good friend Linda Salvin. If you are watching from Facebook, and a lot of you are, please feel free to hit that follow button if you haven't done so already, and do like Linda did and show me some love, right? Show me a like or two. I appreciate it. We're just trying to build up our following and all that good stuff. Also, come into the chat room, chat amongst yourselves. Same thing with YouTube. If you go over to YouTube, you'll see there's over 1,000 videos sitting over there, all of this show. I like to vary the topic because I'm a journalist in real life, and I don't always follow the paranormal thing, right? Okay? Like tonight, we're talking about the opioid crisis. A little, you know, and so I don't always like to follow. I like to cover regular news stuff. And that rule goes to, if you haven't subscribed already and you like what you see and hear tonight, please feel free to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And also, chat amongst yourselves in the chat room. That would be great. Show me some love, okay? Same thing with Twitch. You know, all the social media works about the same. The only one that's kind of weird is TikTok, because you have to double tap the screen to like. But we're not on TikTok tonight. Okay, that being said, it's going to be a different kind of night. You know, I've been doing shows on this opioid crisis for almost the last year now. I've had guests on here. I've done all kinds of things. And I've had you guys kind of following my journey through this, because I'm going through this really bizarre journey. I've been going through it for a while, because last year at this time, I was in with a pain management clinic up in Folsom, which is about maybe a 20-minute ride away from where I'm at, up the hill. And I thought that guy was a jerk. You know, I would go in there, and it seemed like he was trying to sell me a used car, like a car salesman, because he would, you know, turn around and oh, hang on, before I get into that, I forgot. For those of you guys that are members of the Patreon, and those of you guys that want to be members of Patreon, I did a pre-recorded interview today at noon, and that has been posted. And those right now are for people, you know, members of the Patreon. They can see the video up to a week and a half before it actually moves over to this show. Okay, so you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that video. Get to see that. All right, but you have to be a member of the Patreon. So run on over there and check it out. It's a great video. We were talking about how my guest was Richard Lawrence, and we were talking about how ancient deities were probably from other planets. So it was an interesting conversation. Okay, now getting back to this. So I started these things because I was having issues with my pain management guy, like around last year about this time. And so we started trying to do this once a month, and then I got away from it because things kind of smoothed out. But anyway, getting to the point, there is an opioid crisis, and a lot of it is caused, and I'm going to say it out loud. I mean, what are they going to do? A lot of it is caused by the original guidelines put out by the Center for Disease Control. They weren't that stringent really, but when the doctors got a hold of these guidelines and saw them, they went into panic mode, and that's why everybody started to get cut off. Nope, can't take that. We're going to cut you off. We're going to do this. We're going to close the clinic. All this started to happen, and people were left without access to their much-needed pain medications, right? And then the DEA got involved, and it even got worse because, instead of saying, okay, we're going to be at the borders trying to snag, all that illegal stuff coming in, we're just going to put a big blanket on and say it's everybody that's overdosing, it's everybody that's getting a hold of these drugs. Bad idea. Because what happened, again, the doctors got freaked out. Because the DEA was going out and arresting doctors for overprescribing, and all this was going on. And one doctor in particular was in his 80s. He had to get a lawyer and an advocate. He finally got out of jail. He got convicted of overprescribing. I don't know if he was from a small town or where he was, but he was a family doctor, right? He's one of these doctors that you've been going to for years. He's the first one that probably hit your bottom when you were born. That kind of doctor. I always think of those guys like the doctor on Little House on the Prairie. They know everybody in their community, and they've been around for a while. Just like there's pharmacists that are like that as well. So everybody had the fear of God in them, including the pharmacy people, and it's still like that. So then the DEA starts to close down the pharmaceutical factories. Okay, that caused a huge shortage in not only pain medication, but other types of medication as well. I've had 3 instances, in fact tonight is one of those instances where I have Entresto for my heart, and I can't do a full pickup of it until tomorrow afternoon because there's not enough Entresto. They don't have it, and they have to wait on the stock. It's not in stock. I went to Safeway one time to pick it up a few months ago, which is why I switched over to Walgreens, and they didn't have it in stock. I ended up going all the way into another town, Rancho Cordova, just to get my heart medication. And that's because, again, the DEA, in its infinite wisdom, and I have to respect the DEA. I mean, there's law enforcement. I don't have anything, okay? Nothing against the DEA or law enforcement, okay? What I have a thing against is the policy itself. And the policy dictated that they were going to take these drug manufacturers to court and shut them down. And they did. But the problem was they didn't take into account that some drug manufacturers didn't make certain drugs. So then there's a scramble to find one that does, like my Entresto, right? There's a shortage because the drug manufacturer that had made it probably doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so now it's hard for me to find my heart medication. And it's like that. Diabetic medication is like that. I've heard friends tell me that they have trouble getting certain medications. And that's why. Because they have taken it upon themselves to shut those places down. Okay? Again, what is that saying in Jurassic Park? Everybody said it. Everybody did it because they could, even though they shouldn't have, or whoever that guy said it. Not thinking about whether they should, but they did it anyway. And that's what is going on with this. Anyhow, so, I was tolerating the place I was going back last year, and finally he claims that he no longer wanted to work with my medical coverage, but I have a feeling because I couldn't have been the only one that was not happy with him. So I went ahead because I had COVID, and they made me come in anyway. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten my stuff. I say stuff, it sounds like drugs. My pain medication that I've been taking for 12 years. Okay? We're going to clarify something with that, too. And so I decided to file a grievance, and I did. And within about a month, well, not a month, but a couple weeks after I filed the grievance, everybody got notice that had my coverage that he was leaving the coverage. So we were without pain medication, a pain doctor, which was fine. But the issue was that he neglected to, when we all went back to our regular PCPs for this because we had to go to our PCPs because you have to get a referral to go to pain management. So we had to all get everybody, and this is everybody who hadn't had an MRI in the last 6 months. We all had to go get scheduled MRIs and then go to our PCPs to have the PCPs look at our MRIs in order to get referrals over to pain management. Okay, it's a process we all had to do. So my MRI, of course, when I went to book it, was 3 months out. Was almost 2 months out because 800,000 people were out booking MRIs. From this particular practice. But what struck me with him was that it's one thing to drop something, like the coverage thing, but he was trying to make it look like it was his decision. Yet after the date happened or just before the date happened that my coverage was going to end with them, I walk in there and probably about 80% of his staff was gone. So that that kind of being a newspaper reporter, that kind of sent up alarm. That kind of told me that the story. I mean, why would you give up a lot of money and knowing you have a lot of money coming in, and then all of a sudden you fire everybody, right? To cut back to the point where you have to let people go. So we'll just leave it hanging there. I could be wrong, but we'll leave it hanging there. So I went in there, and it turns out when I was talking to my PCP about this, she told me that at that time that there were about 100 patients at that particular place that she worked who were in the same boat that I was, because a month and a half later, after I got my MRI, he still hadn't released my medical records over to my PCP. Okay, but I like I said, I wasn't the only one. She admitted that there were other patients like me who could not get their medical records released. I was even going to go down there with a news crew and demand my medical records because he was holding me up. She didn't have the medical records. She didn't, therefore she couldn't write me a script, or I couldn't get referred over to a pain management place. So that wasn't very cool. So finally, the medical records, the medical record, no, they weren't in yet. I remember that. And I remember begging her, I said, look, I've got congestive heart failure. I can't go through withdrawals. I'm terrified. And so she finally went over, and because there's a record at every pharmacy, every time I get an opioid or anybody else gets an opioid, there is a record of it at the pharmacy. What time I walked in, when did I sign for it, what day, because it's all built on the 30-day month. Okay, you go in before that 30 days. Sometimes you can go in the day before, depending. If you try to get it early, you're not going to get it early. Okay, it's going to be a check mark put there. You're not going to get it. There's just no way you're going to get it early. So she checked the records. She finally found the records. And then she said, well, I don't like doing this, but I'll go ahead and do it for you. So then she filled out the paperwork. I was able to do it through her. Okay, fine and dandy. We're trying to find, in the meantime, we're waiting on the stupid records to come in so she can do the referral to pain management. They finally come in. A week later, the records show up. She starts doing referrals. First place that gets me for pain management refuses me. Why? Because, and this is where we're going to talk about that, I'm dependent on opioids. Okay? That's why. Second place we try to do it. Refuse me. I'm dependent on opioids. Now, what is the difference between somebody who's addicted and somebody who's dependent? Because I was kind of mad at my doctor because she put that on my file. Patient is dependent on opioids for quality of life. Simple. So I was kind of annoyed. And then she explained it to me. I even looked it up, okay? Dependency. I have been taking, since I hurt my back the first time. I've heard it like 2 or 3 times. Since I hurt my back the first time, I've been taking opioids for 12 years. Okay? I have been taking the same dosage of opioids for 12 years. It hasn't varied. Okay? I haven't asked for anything. I'm not going to name drugs today. We're going to leave it at that. I'm not going to name drugs. I haven't asked for a higher level opioid. Okay? I started out on probably the lowest level opioid you can be on. And then I was switched over to this other opioid because the lowest wasn't working. Okay? But I have been on the same dose of opioid for 12 years. So overall, I've been taking opioids for 15 years. Sorry about that. Okay? So that's why I'm dependent. I'm dependent on it because if I don't take it, I can't even walk. I cannot clean my floors. I cannot I can't. I was gonna say mow my carpet. I'm losing my mind. I can't mow my lawn. I can't vacuum my carpet. I have one vertebrae that's on top of the other vertebrae, and it happens to be right at the position in my lower back, where you would bend over to do that stuff. Can't do it. I have to have this medicine to do this. In addition, I've got spinal stenosis. On top of it, according to my PCP, I've got arthritis in my mid back as well. And then there's a bad disc, which I knew about, and then some bone spurs back there. Bad, 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 right? I just can't do things without the medication. That's what it means, dependent upon opioids. Had I known how bad it was going to get, the first pain management I got, when the guy decided to convert to doing injections, they gave us a choice to stay or go. And if we decided to go, then they wrote us a script. Here's an extra script. Back then they could do double scripts. So they wrote us a hand script saying, okay, here's an extra 30 days because you're probably going to have to take some time to find your next pain management guy, which I thought was fine. But before I left it, I was sitting down talking to him. He says, you need this for quality of life. And I said, yeah, I do. I need it for quality of life. I wish I would have gotten that in writing at that point, but I didn't even think it was going to blow up into anybody's faces like it has out there. Okay? I didn't think it was going to blow up. So, I've got this quality of life going. And again, my PCP put it down. Dependent on opioids for quality of life. So, I get turned down by the first two. So finally, one says, okay, we'll take her. Okay? So everything's arranged. So so around the first week of August, everything's been going great, for like 3 or 4 months. It's fine. I'm getting my medication. Everything's going cool. So around the first week of August, I have to, and this is the other thing, you have to watch. When a prescription goes in and when you ask your doctor for them, you have to watch what days you're doing too, because they're watching and they're counting. The doctors are counting, the DEA's counting, everybody's counting everybody. So a couple of times, because my doctor really hadn't done this before, and so like one time she did it, they sent it back to her because it was too early. She was kind of upset about that, but she finally learned. This was a good learning curve for her as well. Anyway, so I'm waiting for August, and I'm trying to figure out the numbers and the medical plan that I have. The not hospital but the clinic that I go to. They want all your prescriptions 5 to 7 days in advance submitted. Which, that's where it comes in funny with the opioids, because really 5 days in advance is kind of pushing that limit of where they don't like you doing it. The DEA doesn't like it. So I thought, okay, fine. So I submitted on the 7th, knowing that I was going to be out the following Monday. And we're talking working days, right? So the 7th was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so that was 3 days. And then, the way it hit. Anyhow, last month, because I'm thinking, okay, last month she wrote it on the 9th. And then, boom, out it went. Then I had concerns because of the weekend. Because these pharmacies kind of have a master list of who's taking what at what dosages, and they have to send those in to the CD or to the DEA to get clearance to get the medication. And sometimes if somebody doesn't show, they might give it to somebody else because it's in stock. So I had major concerns because it was a weekend, right? Because weekends, if they're going to run out, they're going to run out. I remember when I was with Costco, and I used to get them at Costco, and if I came in on a Thursday or a Friday with a prescription, they would have a fit because they wouldn't have them, because they'd have to order on that Monday. So I had concerns about that. So I was sitting here waiting, and I knew something was wrong on Friday, because normally she would have it done within 3 days, because there was no response. In fact, when I looked it up in my chart, it said that, okay, we're sending this back to the PCP physician for her to handle. Okay. So I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. Monday rolls around. Still no contact. And I'm thinking, what the heck happened? I submitted this. In the meantime, around Saturday, after thinking about not getting the prescription on Friday, I started to cut my pills in half. Getting ready just in case. Sure enough, Monday, still no call. Still no prescription. So now, and to give you an idea, Saturday I was down to 9 pills because you're always on schedule for 30 days. So at that point, the alarms are starting to go off. So I'm starting to like pigeonhole my pills. Okay, we'll go to 2 a day for this day, 2 a day for this day, and then come down to 1.5. But I didn't have enough pills to really to bring it down like I should have, because normally what you would do is you would, if like if I'm taking 3 a day, you get yourself down to 2 a day for for 1 or 2 or 3 days, and then you get yourself down to 1.5 a day, etc., 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 as you go down. Eventually you're not on anymore. I didn't have that because this happened so quickly. I did not have the ability to do that, so I had to come down really, really fast. Okay, I've got congestive heart failure. All right, if you go to the Mayo Clinic or any of the clinics and talk about, coming withdrawals and coming off that stuff, it says if you have heart conditions or you're a diabetic, you need to go to the hospital to do this. Don't try to do it on your own. Not me. Off I went. So I spent 3 days coming down and pain. I was taking Tylenol 500s 3 times a day, trying to counteract all this stuff, and I'm trying to come down and wean down, and all that's going on. I was taking gabapentin for the shakes, and all this. I finally get a call on Wednesday, and she was on vacation. So what I don't understand is, as a nurse practitioner, what I don't get is there should have been a supervisor there, even though I signed the contract with her. There should have been a supervisor there to say and send me a note saying, hey, she's unavailable, she's on vacation. We'll fill this when she gets back. Had they done that the week before, that Tuesday or Wednesday that I submitted, I could have planned accordingly and not had to come so far down and fast off the pills. Okay, to where I wasn't sleeping, my skin was crawling, all that stuff. Plus, and then when they got back, she gets back, and the next thing I hear from her medical assistant is, oh, you have to come in and see her, but you can't do a same-day appointment because we don't do that with opioids. And I said, well, that means it'll be 3 months before I see her. How ridiculous is that? Here I'm going through withdrawals. So then I get a call back, and they said, well, go get a drug screening, and then once the results come back, if they're okay, we'll go ahead and write the script. Okay, fine. So I did the drug screening, and my luck was not holding out at all because I did that Wednesday. Thursday, I get a call from my doctor saying, well, did you do it? Because we don't have the results. And I said, yeah, I did it. So, as luck would have it, I wanted to make an appointment to see her anyway. And I got on their my chart calendar, make that appointment. Didn't think I was going to get one, so I requested the Thursday or Friday for an appointment. As it turned out, there was one available, and they got me in. Well, then there was a big hassle because they claimed it was a same-day appointment, which it wasn't. It was off the regular appointment calendar. Anyway, so all this goes down. I'm arguing back and forth with the medical assistant. I get a message from my chart saying, okay, come on in. You can talk to her about whatever you want. Just come on in. So I go all the way in there, and I get turned away. They're not going to see me because it's a same-day appointment. And they were mad. And I was like, I drove all the way over here in 105-degree heat. Okay, so I do that, and they're still missing my drug test. So I go over, right next door to where her office is a Quest. So I go back into Quest Diagnostics to do a drug test. And as I'm sitting there, the guy takes my information. He goes, wow, you're the second person we've had in that said that. I said what? He says, well, your test is there. They just don't have it recorded. So I go home, and you guys saw the results of Thursday's show. I was exhausted from the heat, everything else. Being on, withdrawals is not helping it because, there's my skin's jumping, and the pain is my pain's going through the roof because the Tylenol's not working. So Friday, I did the show with you guys Friday. That went okay. I made sure I was rested. I tried to sleep through most of Friday so I didn't have to deal with any of the weird feelings. And then I get a call just before the show that, okay, the results are in, the prescription's done. Great. Got done with the show, went over, picked up my script, came home. Everything's been hunky-dory. Well, as luck had it, I got my These pain medication on Friday. I had an appointment out at the new pain doctor for Monday afternoon, and I thought, okay, that's cool. I had to do this because these withdrawals. I was going to end up at Kaiser. It was that bad. So I I I go to my Monday pain appointment. This is where it gets interesting in that I walk in to this clinic and I'm talking to people outside the clinic. And before it was lunchtime, and I'm getting reports like, "Oh my God, these people like needles. All they want to do is do injections and do all this stuff. And if you don't do them, they'll cut your pain meds back or take them away from you. But they're needle happy. I call it Frankensteining. Um, Pain clinics, and I've been doing a lot of research online. There was one particular pain clinic in the same area that was shut down. And they were shut down and they owed Medicaid and Medi-Cal all kinds of money because they were charging them for unnecessary operations and unnecessary procedures. And the bulk of it had to do with injections, right? So apparently and I don't know if it's all of them, but apparently this one got caught because every time that they put somebody through and did injections in them, they got like a extra bonus kickback for each patient that they did injections in, and that was pure, and that was for per injection, right? So I go in to see her. Normally, when you go into these appointments, especially if you're brand new as a patient, they will come over, listen to you breathe. Okay, my blood pressure was really high, all right, because I'm keyed up, right? Plus, because when I take gabapentin makes my blood pressure go up. Not only that, it makes my brain foggy, so I don't like to take it. All right, I stay away from it. But I did it because supposedly gabapentin works if you're coming off alcohol addiction. It helps with the shakes and stuff. So I thought, well, and it did help with the shakes. It did. I mean, I was still getting shakes, or the skin crawling, but it wasn't as bad as it could be. So I go in to see her. And like I said, normally when you go into these appointments, they do a short little physical on you to see how your body's responding to stuff. Because a lot of the time when there's nerve damage and stuff, it's one of those things where there's no reflexes. Maybe you might not have reflexes to kick up or whatever. So what they'll do is they'll listen to you breathe, and then they'll get the little hammer out and they'll start moving it around your elbows and all that stuff, like in the movies, to make you kick. She didn't do any of that. She just sat down at her little desk, asked me about my meds. That was the extent of it. And so she's sitting there and she says, well, I do injections. And I said, okay, fine. And I was trying to be cooperative. I didn't mean fine as in go ahead and do it, but I was trying to be cooperative because I wanted to hear more of what she said. And she says, okay, we're going to sign you up for some injections. Here's what's going on with your back. She made my back injury seem like it was barely nothing to fix. Okay? All right. Former pain management, quality of life. PCP, quality of life. Pain management here. Oh no, this is easy because we got this going on, this going on, this going on. She says, what I want to do is I want to get you at least 30 injections of lidocaine in your back, and then we're going to do some epidural work and, put some other stuff in there. And I'm looking at her and I'm going, why? Everybody else says it's quality of life. This is unnecessary procedure. She says, well, you either do it or we'll take other action. Other action generally means they're going to cut back on your pain management. They're going to cut back on your pain pills, or they're not going to allow you to have pain pills. So you're kind of stuck. Okay, so this whole thing's going on. Then she orders another urinalysis, even though I had one on Wednesday. So I had to go through that again with her. Did that. Come back in, we're talking about medications. And she says, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and write you a script for the gabapentin. After I told her that I had some left and I do not like taking it. I take it as a last resort. She wrote, she was supposed to write me a script for that. Then my pain medication came up. I told her 3 times that I had picked up on Friday. Okay? So she says, okay, I'm writing you a script for your gabapentin. And off she went. That was it. The last I saw of her. Okay. In the meantime, she gives me an order and says, well, when you come back, I'm going to have to call your cardiologist uh, because you're on a blood thinner. We're going to have to take you off the blood thinner for a certain amount of time before we can do injections on you. And I looked at her at that point and I said, I don't want to be off my blood thinner. I've worked hard enough to get my heart going. I don't want to be off my blood thinner. I don't even have my teeth done unless I have to. So she gives me this little order. I went up, set my next appointment up with her. Okay. I go home. I get a call that night that Walgreens is having trouble getting the prescriptions that she ordered through. And I said, what prescriptions? You've done gabapentin before. They said, well, there's 2 other prescriptions that your insurance doesn't want to cover. Good for the insurance. So essentially, she was studying in 2 prescriptions that I never even had consultation on with her. She's just figuring that if she sends them through, I'm going to take them without questioning her. So I look at I look them up online and find out that these prescriptions are spooky. And I know my sister the other night, and I hate to say it, bless her soul, love her to death, felt I was too paranoid about taking other drugs. It's not that I'm paranoid. I've worked hard. When I was first diagnosed with congestive heart failure, I was like a 30. My ejection fraction, that means the blood coming out of the heart, was at a 30, which is low, okay? It was a 30. I worked really hard. In fact, it took me almost 2 years to bring my ejection fraction up to a normal rate, okay? I'll forever have congestive heart failure, okay? And so I have IBS. Sometimes it gets bad, sometimes it doesn't, okay? So I'm looking at the side effects of this medication that this doctor wrote me. And some of the big no's on it are, if you have hypertension, high blood pressure, don't take this. If you've got heart problems, don't take this. Okay, this can upset your stomach, cause the runs, cause all this stuff, cause cause stomach pain. I don't want to increase what I'm going through already with my IBS. And why would I risk my heart? Okay, why would I risk having a heart attack or going into cardiac arrest over this stuff, right? So then I start looking at these injections that she wants to do. Same thing. There's a risk of, cardiac arrest. You can have an infection, blah, 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 and all this going on. Why would I do that? Why would I risk that? For something that's not guaranteed it's going to help, right? In the meantime, she has decided that she's going to cut my existing pain pill order almost by half, okay? There's these things called MMEs, and it's a morphine. What is it? It has to do with how much more morphine numbers, even though you're not taking morphine. But the CDC has set a morphine level for people, which is 90 MME a day, right? 90 MME. I take 30. Why would you cut that in half? I'm way below, whatever is suggested by the government. Okay. Anyway, so I don't know what's going to happen at this point. I do not want to take these injections. I don't think I need them. I think that I'm doing well on the medication that I have. I've been doing well on that for 12 years. My medication, my pain sits at around a 4 to 5. Okay? A 4 to 5 when I'm on these. And that's about all you can expect. Pretty much. On the pain meds. There's a 4 to 5. Off of them, I'm around a 20 to 30. I just cannot move. But anyway, I'm in this spot right now, and my doctor, my PCP, is now leaving the practice next week. So I'm in a major pickle here with this, because they're pushing these injections. I don't believe I need them, and I'm going to share something with you guys. There is, and whether you're aware of it or not, the state of California has a Paying Patients Bill of Rights. And I've been doing extensive research in this since I was going out the other place, right? And let me see if I can pull this up. Or is that it? I hate when they do this. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. I had it up earlier. That doesn't mean it's still here. Nope, not them. I know it's here. Where are you? Okay. I'm going to try and come a little closer. I'm going to put my reading glasses on so I can see this. So let me slap those on real quick. Then I'm going to share this with you, what the Pain Patients Bill of Rights are. And this is for you guys here in California too. If you've never read the Pain Patients Bill of Rights, this is what is going on. So I'm going to try and move some stuff around a little bit here so I can read it. Okay. Watch it fall on me like everything else. Okay, so I'm going to turn this as much as I can. Hang on a second. Let me do this. I'm going to... we can't do that either. Okay. Alright, so give me a second here. I'm going to put this way in front of me so I can read this. Okay, so a patient... Okay, here we go. And this is what the state goes by. A patient who suffers from severe chronic intractable pain has the option to request or reject the use of any or all modalities in order to relieve his discomfort. Okay, let me make sure I get that right. In order to relieve, his or her pain. Okay, next one says, Part B, a patient who suffers from severe chronic irretractable pain has the option to choose opioid medications to relieve that pain without first having to submit to an invasive medical procedure, which is defined as surgery, destruction of a nerve or other body tissue by manipulation, or implantation of a drug delivery system or device, as long as the prescribing physician acts in conformance with the California Intractable Pain Treatment Act, Section 2, blah, 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 okay? Now, here's where the kicker part is, okay? The patient's physician may refuse to prescribe opioids for the patient who requests a treatment for severe chronic pain, okay? That there are, for severe chronic interactive pain, however, the physician's staff shall inform the patient that there are physicians who treat pain and whose methods include the use of opioids. A physician who uses opioid therapy, let me try and get this up here, I'm just trying to, oh, it doesn't want to go up, okay, it was just making it easier on me, right, if the damn thing went up. Okay, a physician who uses opioid therapy to relieve severe chronic intraceable pain may prescribe a dosage deemed medically necessary to relieve the patient's pain, as long as that prescribers in conformance with the section above. Okay. A patient may voluntarily request that his or her physician provide an identifying notice of prescription for purposes of emergency treatment on law enforcement identification. Okay. Right. Okay. So there's that. Okay. So I have a right, and I don't know, if what I'm dealing with is irretraceable pain or what this is, but I have a right, according to that, to say, no, I don't want this. I want to be on the opioids because they worked for me. This is a quality of life issue. I don't want stuff poked into me. So I don't know what's good. Like I said, with the situation with my doctor leaving, and the problem is that my next appointment with a doctor in this particular medical group is going to be in October. So I have as of next week, I'm cut loose. Okay, it's just a clinic. They're not going to mess with this stuff. The only other option I have is to change medical groups. But that's a problem because, again, it'll be 3-4 months before I can get into a doctor's office. So I'm behind this rock in a hard spot right now. Do I go in and demand, just like it says in there, because I have the right to demand, to continue to stay on my pills at the level I'm at, not a lower level? Okay? Should I try that? and then have her cut me off, and that be the end of it. And plus, if they cut you off, they'll put a black flag on your account. And then it goes to all the doctors, so all the doctors can see that you've been bad in their eyes or whatever. Okay, it's a vicious world out there, especially with this situation. So those are my options right now. What do I do, because I cannot get a referral from another physician because I don't have a physician to get a referral from. Or I'm thinking, I'm thinking that I'm going to do a letter writing thing starting tomorrow. Contact people at the state level and see if I can get them to back me up on this. And maybe with them backing me up, I can get a referral elsewhere. This is what I'm thinking. So I'm going to start at the federal level. I'm going to go through the state level and start writing letters and see if I can get this going. I don't believe that these injections are worth the risk for my body. Okay, I don't think they're going to work. I've done them before. I did them like 9 years ago, and they did not work. So what's to think they're going to work now? And then there's stories of people going into cardiac arrest. And I've talked to a couple people, physical people, saying that they did it, and they did the nerve blocking thing, and it turned around and crippled them. Nope. My opioids have done the job for 12 years. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the other argument she had, and this was a brilliant argument, I'll give her that. She wanted to get me on a muscle relaxer. All right? What's the biggest muscle in your body? Your heart, right? Okay. I'm already taking an opioid. And opioids tend to relax your muscles, heart muscle included. Okay? And then she's going to hit me up with another one. And I'm just like, no. Let's not say we did. And then she turns around and says, well, the opioid you're taking is already doing that. And I said, yeah, and I've been taking it for 12 years. My body's used to it. I'm not going to be introducing something else into my body. I'm not going to do that. That's a no-no. So going back to this call I got from the pharmacy, I got this call from the pharmacy yesterday. And she's ordered 3 pills for me, and I'm thinking, okay, that's cool. One's going to be the gabapentin. Not one thing of gabapentin. So there's two particular ones that my insurance is refusing to pay for. God bless my insurance. The third one, which I thought was hilarious, was after telling her 2 or 3 times that I picked up my pharmacy script for my opioid on Friday from my PCP, she went ahead and ordered the reduced opioid script for me to try and get it through. The problem with that is, once you pick up a script, they're not going to give you another script for that. No way, no how. It doesn't matter. Okay? The DEA won't allow it. And this is how much she was listening to me, and how glued to the fact that she wanted to give me all these injections and didn't want to hear anything else but about me agreeing to her wonderful injections. Because I told her 2 to 3 times, I have picked up my prescription, you don't need to do one this month. And yet, I still get this call even today that they're trying to get that prescription for the opioid through. And then after I reminded them that I picked up Friday, they're going to send it back to her because she can't do that. And she's probably furious because I picked up Friday. But I was going through so many withdrawals on Friday that I had to do it. I had to do it. My family was appalled at what went down because I was going through so much. I had to get it. I had no choice. Okay, I wanted to go over the difference. And, I was talking about being dependent and being addicted. Okay, being dependent. And I'm going to read this off because, you know what? I want you guys to hear it clearly, okay? Let me make sure I got the right one up here. If you want some really good information and, when you're a pain patient and you really want to know about this stuff, one of the best pages to read and to go to is what they call the pain, I said PP, let me double check it. It's the Pain Patients Network. Yeah. The Pain News Network, the Pain Patients Network. They do a lot of articles on this, and there's tons in there. And there's poor people that don't have their medications. They've been cut off from their medications. which will probably happen to me because I'm raising too much hell, because that's how life is. Let me read this, and this came off of an article from, let me bring this down a little bit. It's ridiculous. Okay. All right. Let me bring this down here. Okay, this is from the PubMed Central website, and the headline is, Drug Dependence is Not Addiction, and there's a difference and it matters. So we're going to talk about really quickly. Let me get the definition for drug dependence. Okay. So here it is. The term dependence has traditionally been used to describe physical dependence, which refers to the adaptations that result in withdrawal systems when drugs, such as alcohol and heroin, are discontinued. Physical dependence is also observed with certain psychoactive medications, such as antidepressants and beta blockers. However, the adaptations associated with drug withdrawal are distinct from the adaptations that result in addiction. Okay, which refers to the loss of control over the intense urges to take the drug, even at the expense of adverse consequences. They go on to describe how the physical dependence is an ordinary biological consequence of taking certain medications for weeks or years, while addiction is continued drug use that persists in the face of negative experience. The difference is reflected in the brain adaptations, such as epigenetic changes, can be seen in people with addiction many years after the alterations associated with the symptoms of withdrawal have resolved. Moreover, people can suffer withdrawal without having addiction, and have addiction without suffering withdrawal. Indeed, nearly everyone who takes opioids for months or more will develop dependence, but only around 8% or fewer of patients in chronic opioid therapy for pain will develop addiction. So that is your difference, right? Where'd StreamYard go? I've been having trouble with my mouse too. Okay, got it. So that's the difference between addiction and dependence, okay? I am dependent. I take it for quality of life so that I can function, so I can go out, drive my car, I can mop my floors, feed my dogs, do my daily stuff, okay? That's what I do. I don't take it to get high. I don't take it, like they say, I don't, my mind doesn't get all messed up with it or anything like that, because I'm so used to it that there's no buzz, there's nothing. It's just me, okay? And I do feel better with it. I feel better because if you've ever had a migraine headache, and you know what pain a migraine headache has, right? You know what pain? Then when you don't have that pain, how do you feel? It's like a huge relief off your system, right? That's what makes me feel better. I get up in the morning, I'm all achy, I take my pill, boom, I'm feeling really good because I don't hurt anymore. There's no pain. Okay? All right. Another article I want to go through really quick. We got 12 minutes to go here. And it's interesting because I hope I have it up here because I might have moved it. Okay, yeah. This is from the Pain News Network. That's the one you guys want to check out because they have all the good information on this stuff. If you are a pain patient, you're trying to follow this stuff. California last year came up with some opioid guidelines. And one of the big worries last year was that these guidelines were going to interfere with the patient's, the patient's Bill of Rights, the pain patient's Bill of Rights, but they didn't interfere. So I'm going to go over, this is from the Pain News Network, and I'm going to go over these guidelines. And this is what I've been reading up on, and this is why my course of action with this, the only thing I can see myself doing is taking this place on at the state level, because I'm not going to do that stuff. It's not going in my body. Okay, this is by Dr. Forrest Tennant and Kristen Ogden. The Medical Board of California recently published new guidelines for prescribing opioids and other controlled substances for pain, which emphasize individualized care that is customized for each patient. Now remember, I told you, when they originally decided to clamp down on opioids and the use of opioids, instead of looking at the pain patients as one and looking at the people that were getting it illegally, the people that were addicted as the other group, they put us all under the same umbrella, and then it all clamped down. And this is what's bad. However, California now is saying that It's emphasizing individualized care, which is more like looking at it on a case-by-case basis. So the guidelines are a remarkable, positive, and practical way forward to pain care. All persons concerned about chronic pain treatment and opioids and other controlled drugs need to know the basic concepts embedded in them. So, as the medical board was updating these guidelines, we had great concern that they would bury California's Pain Patients Bill of Rights and the Intractable Pain Treatment Act. When these laws were passed, they were passed in the 1990s. They were a godsend to patients with chronic intraceable pain who were given the right to request or reject the use of any and all modalities in order to relieve his or her pain. That means patients, with the support of their doctors, could get opioid medication without first having to submit to surgery, medical devices, or other forms of pain treatment. This is what I'm going to call her out on. Okay? To our great pleasure, the medical board's new guidelines recognize, define, and support these worthy laws. Importantly, the guidelines also state that they are not in any way intended to limit treatment of patients in hospice or palliative care. And they allow for doctors to prescribe high-dose opioids, provided they keep good medical records that document the need for them. Boom, okay? Here we go. This is where it gets weird with intractable pain, though. The guidelines provide a classic definition of intractable pain as a state in which the cause cannot be removed or otherwise treated, and no relief or cure has been found after reasonable efforts. Okay. The problem with this definition is that intractable pain may be mild or intermittent and not curable, but may still be treated with non-opioid modalities. To require and receive treatment with opioids and other controlled drugs, one reality needs a specific causative diagnosis of the unremitting high-impact pain that produces physiologic complications such as hypertension. See, I've got hypertension, tachycardia, my heart, and endocrine deficiencies. Okay. Put another way, intractable pain is an incurable but treatable problem, or is it constant and incurable with potentially life-threatening complications? Physicians as a group are often mystified, confused, and unaware of how to determine which patients have an incurable but readily treatable problem, and which patients have the constant and incurable pain that causes complications and requires opioid therapy. Physicians need to help make sound, defensible treatment decisions in the face of this quandary. Some patients with complex pain are greatly impacted and require non-standard treatment, which may include high doses of opioids. Okay? Here are the recommendations. A specific medical cause of intractable pain has been identified. Constant pain has impacted some physiological and/or mental functions such as sleep, eating, hygiene, reading, concentration, and mobility. I have issues with mobility and sleep. I have to have a pain pill at night, or I will be awake all night hurting. So I have to have one at night to sleep. Trials of standard medications and dosages such as agents and antidepressants, muscle relaxants, anti-inflammatory stimulants, and seizure medications, and low-dose opioids have no control over pain or normalized function. Been there, done that. There is objective physical evidence of the causative disease or complications of the pain, such as hypertension, tachycardia, neurologic deficits. I do go numb in my feet, so I have nerve problems going down to my feet. Or anatomic structural abnormalities. I cannot stand up straight without my medication. I have to lean over to walk. There is an objective diagnostic test result that documents the abnormality of the cause of pain or its complications, such as magnetic research or MRIs, right? Hormone deficiency, elevated autoimmune inflammatory marker, abnormal electrodiagnostic test, okay? It is a lack of adequate treatment of complex intractable pain that is really the crux of suffering and deaths that have emerged due to overzealous and misinformed opioid regulations and guidelines. These legitimate complex patients comprise about 3 to 5% of chronic pain patients. The California Medical Board's new guidelines provide clinicians the opportunity to implement individualized, this is what's important here. The Medical Board's guidelines provide clinicians the opportunity to implement individualized and effective treatments for those unfortunate and deserving intractable pain patients. Okay, so that is what the crux of all this is. And so that is why, I've been thinking about hello, rewind. That is why I'm trying to figure this out because of my situation with my physician leaving, and being in between physicians. How am I going to try and not have to do this? Because I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair that I need to do this stuff. And with my heart problems and my stomach problems and all that building up, it's not right to put that stuff in my body. It just isn't. I don't want to get sicker. I don't want to have more stomach problems. I got enough issues right now to have to deal with that. I mean, to give you an idea, there's been so much stress the last 2 weeks. I've gone through 24 Imodium in like 4 days. I mean, that's how it's been. So, I don't want to have to go through that. I shouldn't have to be forced to do that and be taken off my medication that I need. So that's why I've decided that I think the next few days, like I said, I'm going to start writing letters out at the state level, call them, get a hold of the medical board, and start going that way to see what I can do. What can be done to help me, because this is ridiculous. And that's where I'm at. And so I hope you guys, I'm not going to say enjoyed this, because there's really nothing to enjoy. I am not a doctor, and I'm going to say that flat out for YouTube. I am not a doctor. I'm just reading off what doctors have, okay? This is a problem that's going on all over the United States. People are getting kicked off their pain meds because, they don't want to do these injections. These injections, to give you an idea, aren't even authorized by the FDA. And the World Health Organization doesn't even authorize these things. So as far as I'm concerned, they're playing Frankenstein, right? I don't want stuff that's not authorized by the FDA and who. I mean, not even the World Health Organization allows them. So, yeah, I mean, there's just too much risk when you look at the side effects on all these things with the stuff that I have, that I'm carrying around medically, that's wrong with me. Too much can go wrong. Too much can go wrong, So I'm hoping that I have 30 days before my next appointment with her. So I'm hoping that I can get some paperwork from somebody from the state level, or some word from somebody at the state level, maybe senator, maybe, congressman, the governor's office, whatever, about all this, and the medical board, to put a stop to these injections. So this is what I'm hoping. This is what I'm working on right now, because I do not want to have to go sit through 40, 50, 60 injections. Okay? Ridiculous. And the other thing, too, is I have trouble lying on my stomach. I don't breathe well. And from one of these sets of injections, I would have to lie on my stomach anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. And when I pointed that out to her, she got up and said, "Oh no, we'll have monitors, so if you have trouble, we'll pull you up right away." Pfft, whatever. I shouldn't be laying there in the first place if I have trouble. So yeah, so the battle is on. So I'll give you guys updates as it goes and see what happens, with this battle. Because I don't think it's right. Just like ordering, but she didn't even, like I said, she didn't even test me to watch me bend over. She didn't, that's part of the test when you walk into, the first couple of times you go, you bend over 2 or 3 times so they can see how well the pain medication is working for you. She never even had me do that. Didn't test my reflexes. Didn't hear my breathing. Nothing. And then all of a sudden she's reducing my dosage on my pain medication. Boom. Ridiculous. After reading my file. That's all she did. Here's your MRI. Here's this. Oh, this isn't so bad. If it's not so bad, then why, for 12 years, have I been taking opioids to deal with it? It just boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. And some of the people I've been talking to that I know that are doing pain work, it's what they call a shot mill. Where they want to do multiple shots. And if you do some research, because I'm not saying this is the same thing for everybody, but you will find that a lot of these places get a kickback for each shot they give to patients. Each shot they make like maybe $10 to $30 on. So if they run, say, 100 patients through in one day, do the math. If they're doing 30 to 40 shots on people, do the math on that. So that's where it's at, and I'm glad California came out with the new guidelines that they did. The CDC recently In fact, this is what's interesting too, is the CDC, not recently, but last year, uh, clarified their guidelines because the doctors misread the guidelines and went into panic mode. And that's what started a lot of this mess. And so the CDC clarified, and in plain language, well, not plain language, but so much as language, has said that it is up to the doctor to judge, what a patient gets, whether a patient gets opioids or what they get. It's up to their discretion. But the doctors are still so afraid of the government, the feds involved in all this, that they're still doing this stuff. They're still doing this, and a lot of the times it's not the doctor's fault. Just like my poor PCP, this is probably the first time she's been on this road, and I have nothing against her, nothing against the way she did this, even when she went on vacation. I have nothing but good things to say for her, because I know she was she was nervous about doing it, and I don't blame her. So I don't find her at fault for any of this. But this one that I went in contact with on Monday, I find her at fault for everything, because I don't like her attitude. I don't like the way she did this, and I don't like being told that I have to get this stuff done to me when she's acting like it's no choice, or like I said, get a phone call from the pharmacy saying there's 3 of these refills, or there's 3 of these things waiting for me, and she never talked to me about any of them. Any of them. So I had no clue what they were. I guess she assumed that because it was written by a doctor that I would just happily start gulping these things down. Not happening. I do my research. Always have. I'm a newspaper reporter. That's what I do for a living. That's my real job. And I'm going to dig. I've won awards for being an investigative reporter. I'm going to dig. Okay, guys, tomorrow, I can say it's a happier topic. Less heavy topic, right? Stephanie Horn, I'm sorry, God help me. Stacy Horn is going to be with us, and she has a book she's written about a parapsychology expert that actually was working for the U.S. government. And so we're going to dig into that and see who this person was, or what their function was with the government. This is because the UFOs? Was the government looking into ghosts and stuff? I don't know. So we're going to talk with her tomorrow. That'll be 6:30 p.m. Pacific, right here. And like I said, I'm going to start writing my letters at the state level. And as I get information in, I'll share it with you guys, because I know there's a bunch of you out there that are going through similar stuff with your pain management. And so I think it's important to share what I'm going through and what I did. Not saying that everybody can do the same thing. I'm just saying, just to take you on my journey, take you with me on my journey through all this craziness, because it is craziness. All right. Okay, guys. Again, I did do a pre-record this afternoon, and there was a gentleman from England named Richard Lawrence that I interviewed, and we spoke about ancient gods. Did they come from other planets? And we spoke a lot about ancient sightings of UFOs and things like that. So I think you'll like that. It's over at the California Haunts Patreon. You have to be a member over there. It's 18.7 cents a day to be a member. And that is one of the perks, is you get these videos up to 2 weeks before I release them for California Haunts Radio. So if it's something that you're interested in and you want to see this guy, this is your chance to go over there, see it at your convenience, okay? I'm also going to be doing a show, maybe once or twice a month. It's going to be on Saturday nights. It's going to be live. It's going to be a private show. And we're going to be doing, it's going to be live. It'll be a private show the first time. Then eventually, like this one, it will get released out to the public. Okay? But it's going to be on ghosts, and it's going to be, the focus is going to be on ghost stories. It's called Ghost Stories in the Dark. And so if you have any ghost stories that you would like to add to the show, that would be great. A lot of the focus is going to be on first responders, and because they've got some great stories, I'll tell you. So that's going to be happening very soon here. I'm trying to work the things out on that, because now Patreon has a way that I can go live directly through Patreon. It comes from, I think it comes, I don't know if they have a private server place they do it, or if I have to do it through YouTube. I'm trying to study that. I just got in there today to take a look at it. But it's going to be a private show of this stuff for the Patreon members, and then it will be released to the general public as well, but after the Patreon members have it. So that's one of the perks over at the Patreon. I'm going to be doing, it depends on your level, bloopers. I have a lot of bloopers here, as you guys know. Like Thursday when TikTok fell down in my lap, and that went wrong, or something else goes wrong today. Um, it was last night that I dropped off the face of the earth last night, and I had to come back in. The poor guests were winging it for me when I came back in. So there's a lot of bloopers like that. When I'm doing the intros sometimes, some of these names and some of these things that people do, or they're going to talk about, it ends up being like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Sometimes I've got 15, 20 takes of that stuff, and it's funny because I get frustrated. You can hear me getting frustrated, and it gets to be funny, just the way I'm phrasing stuff too. So bloopers are offered. There's all kinds of stuff offered. There's discounts to events, future events for that we put on, whether it's psychic readings or ghost hunts, live ghost hunts, things like that you can go out on with us. So there's all kinds of things I'm offering. Go over there and check it out, and that is at patreon.com/California Haunts Radio, and the CH and R are capitalized. So go check that. Go check that out. There's 3 levels of membership. But the first membership does get you previews 2 weeks ahead of time. Not previews, but 2 weeks ahead of time you get to see full video interviews. Okay? So check that out. Check that out. Okay, guys, I will see you tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Have a great evening, and see ya. Hey, where'd you go? Wait a minute. Oh, there it is. See what I mean? I gotta roll.